Hello, precious people. I'm Jacqueline Parks. Welcome to my channel, Stampin' Turtles. Today we are going to paint water reflections, and I haven't done this in a while, so hopefully it will go well. If you're just now joining my channel and you've never seen me before, I am a watercolor artist, and I enjoy painting animal pet portraits usually, but I can do a variety of things. I do teach local classes, so if you are in Baldwin County and want to participate in one of my local classes, you can check my website out at stampinturtles.com and see what's coming up. I only have July's classes right now, so which we're at the end of July. I got to get busy and update my website. But I have some great ideas for my next 5 classes. Hopefully I will get them uploaded. I always like to do my own images for those, so I need to get busy and paint them ahead of time. Challenge, just go look at my my list there. You read some scripture, you get some imagery in your head, you paint it, and voila, you're done. Also, if you complete all 31 days and send me a picture of all 31 paintings, you will get a free one-on-one class with me. So in person, like that'd be great. If you aren't local, then we could do, I don't even know if they do Zoom, but we could do something, FaceTime, things like that. I am just getting started. A little bit late, about 12 minutes late. So I do have all of my accoutrements here that I just ran and got out of my car. So, and I've got my tea. So I'm drinking my tea with some honey. Hi, Vicky. Good morning. Oh, you're beautiful. So thank you for saying that. You're very sweet. I am drinking, what is this stuff? Twinings herbal tea, pure rooibos red tea with some honey. And y'all know my honey that I get is called Coastal Comb Raw Honey. It's local. My pastor has bees and he harvests honey from them and makes a bunch of jars of honey, and we love it. It's great, and it's great for allergies. Drinking or eating honey from a local where you live. A lot of people buy honey from the store. You don't know where that honey came from, but this one, you know, it came from Baldwin County. All right, I got my paint. Let's switch camera views, y'all, because you don't want to just look at my face. All right. So we got my paints. I do need to kind of refill. Which one is like really low? Some of these are getting low. As I've told you in previous videos, I get like tubes of paint and I refill as they get empty. So like if this blue is empty, I just buy the same color and squeeze. And it will dry out. Like you can let it dry overnight and then you can transport it wherever you want. I've got different colors of yellow. We used a lot of yellow yesterday. In fact, let me show you guys what we did yesterday. It was so much fun. We had a pretty good sized class. And we had one of my dear friends, Kim, brought her granddaughter, and I would say, not to say anything bad about the others, but her granddaughter has natural talent, y'all. Look at her precious drippy painting. I love it. It's so expressive and loose and free. And that's what I want for people. I want people to be loose and free with their paintings. I want you guys to throw it on there. My husband was looking at my paintings in the picture and he's like, that's not as good as you normally do. And I said, it's expressive, it's loose, it's what it's supposed to be. I had fun, okay? We had fun. So if you aren't having fun making your paintings, I don't know, maybe you need a different medium or a different hobby, right? Because painting shouldn't be stressful. It should be fun. And I think a lot of times we get hung up with how it should look at the end, but I feel like it should be more about creating, more about exploring what the paints and waters do. And so I am looking for a piece of paper to paint on, which I didn't cut yet. Let me get one. Let me get one real quick. Man, You know how I like Canson XL. So y'all, if you're just starting out, just use some cheap watercolor paper. I'm going to do 5x7. 5x7 is a good size. Because you know why? It fits on my desk in the camera view. 5x7 is great. I'm going to be doing reflections in watercolor. Let me see, did I even put it up here? I might not have added it on here. That's sad. I will show it to you on my phone. Hey, it looks like we got a few people in the chat. If you guys want to tell me where you're all from, that would be great. Don't forget to like the video. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, I did reach 1,000 subscribers finally after decades, right? It seems like it. But if you haven't, just go ahead and even hit that notification, because I do go live on Mondays at 10 a.m. I think we're Central. Are we Central time? Vicki, let me know. I'm like, I think it's Central time. We are 1 hour earlier than Eastern. So whatever time it is Eastern time right now, we're 1 hour before that. I'm going to show you on my phone. I have some pictures. Let me see. Okay, so I use a stock photo, okay? And this is going to be a great one, I think. It's going to be lots of reflections in the water. Look at all the reflections. That's going to be majorly detailed, you think, but I'm going to show you guys what I do. And I may just crop that fish because I don't know. Do we need the whole fish? Might crop the tail off. We don't really need the whole fish. I don't know. I have to figure out how I'm gonna draw it, how I'm gonna paint it. This is good for you guys to see in real time, like literally me thinking. Maybe I will do the whole picture because I kind of want the whole thing. Vicky says absolutely gorgeous. Aw, thank you. In Alabama, of course. Roll Tide. Are you Roll Tide or War Eagle? When I moved here, we had to do one or the other. We could not stay neutral. We had to pick. All right, I am going to loosely sketch the little fishy. And I say loosely because it's not about maybe it should be up higher. You probably can't even see what I'm drawing because it's so light. That's how I sketch, is really extremely soft. And the reason I do that is because if I need to erase, which I have already done a few times. Let's see. I feel like that's going to be good. That's going to be good enough. And there might be some little things over here. And you know what? Let me remind you guys, when you're painting from an image, the problem that a lot of people seem to think is that you got to get every detail correct and exact because, someone's going to know you messed up. But what I like to point out is no one's going to know what you used as a reference photo. In reality, they're just going to see your finished painting. And how will they know? How will they know? But I get a lot of inspiration from you all. I have a good group of friends that I've met on TikTok, of all places, right? And we meet on Tuesdays and hang out together and share ideas on how to grow our channel and how to reach more people, and also just encourage each other in our craft, like our watercoloring and other things that we do. I have actually been making soap. Okay, before I start painting, let me show you guys what I've been doing because I am so proud of my soap. Let me just tell you. So this is my pumpkin spice soap loaf that I just cut yesterday. I had a little difficulty with this one when I poured it. I put some essential oil that was a cinnamon leaf, and I don't know, I tried measuring it, but it was not registering on the scale as I was pouring and pouring and pouring. It never changed from 0. And I was like, surely this is enough oil, right? So I poured it in the batter and stirred it in, and immediately my batter turned into this thick pudding. And I was like, ooh, I need to pour it really, really quick. Poured it in my mold, and then I started to see a little crack on the top after about 30 minutes. And I was like, oh no. And they said, put it in the fridge. I put it in the fridge. Actually, they said put it in the freezer because you don't want it to volcano and erupt. Like, it was overheating. So anyways, did save it, and it looks beautiful. Beautiful. I also have this whole little tower of all my soaps I've made so far. My friend Kim, who came to my class for the sunflower yesterday and brought a granddaughter, she's been my soap guru partner. We've been making soaps together. We've been experimenting. It all started with me saying, with her saying to me, have you ever thought about making soap? And like the day before, I researched for like 10 hours how to make soap. And so it was kind of like a God thing that we both had thought about making soap within the same couple days. And so now I've got a little tower of soaps. We made a lot of them together. The 2 on the top I made by myself. And I'm experimenting, so it's fun. I did one with lemongrass and lavender. It smells so good. Some coffee mocha, persimmon. We got what else in here? Oh, my favorite, oatmeal, honey. I love it, love it, love it, love it. So very, very yummy smelling soaps, right? All right, but we're here to paint. So I am looking at designing reflections on the water, right? There are a lot of reflections in here, and as you can tell, the only thing I have drawn, if you want to see, there we go. The light is hard to see. It's so light on there. Y'all, just draw a little fish. Now, if anybody needs this picture, did I not put it on here? I don't know if it's too late to put it on here while doing a live. You know, sometimes I think I have everything set up good, and then I'm like, maybe not so much. And then I'm like, scrambling to try and do something. Okay, I added it, so now you guys can see what I'm seeing. I think this will be good. So here's the picture. If anyone wants to try and screenshot that with your phone, if you're on your phone, if you're on the TV, I don't know how to help you. But if you want to screenshot that and paint along with me, then you'll have it on your phone in front of you at all times. Or you can just follow me step by step and not do anything until I say do it. But I'll give you a few seconds to screenshot that. Just found it on the internet, so it's not, I don't think it's copyright. I don't know. It said free underneath the caption, so I'm assuming it's free. But you know how they say, don't assume things. Anyways, this is what we're going to be painting. So I've got my paints, and I'm going to show you before we even start what I plan to do. Okay, my plan is to make the lightest color blue. Okay, so if you look at the reference photo, you'll see there's lots of different darks and almost blacks and yellows even, and oranges, and there's a bunch of colors, right? Well, what I want to design first and foremost is the lightest blue I can see. So I'm going to mix with my dirty water some blue. Let's see what happens when I mix my light blue, and I use a little cobalt blue right here. And I do have a little clean water. We can use clean water. If you guys hate using dirty water, don't use dirty water. But I am a lazy painter. I don't walk over to the sink and get fresh water all the time. I just use whatever's on my desk. And I've got this nice light blue with lots of water. See how much water I'm using? So much, so much. So we're using light blue. And what we're going to do You guys are going to see what I'm going to do, right? Let's see if I can just put that to the side for a second. Do I have a close-up? I want to show you guys a close-up if I have a close-up, okay? So I'm just using that blue I made, okay? Just the blue, and what I'm gonna do, and I'm not doing wet and wet, I am doing wet and dry. So we are going to go around the fish, but it's, remember, this is super watery, so it might as well be wet and wet because it's just skipping that step of painting the whole thing with water. And I'm just adding water and no more paint, just more water. Trying to go around my fishy. Don't paint your fishy. I don't know if I should have erased that. We'll see. We'll see how it looks. So I don't even know if it registers on camera, but that is the palest blue. You're saying not sure what happened to your sound. Did something happen to my sound? Great. What happened to my sound? Let me go check. No, if I should have erased that, we'll see. Oh, I think we'll see how it looks. When I was adding the photo in OBS, I think that's what happened. It probably muted me while I was doing that. But you can hear me now, I think. I think you can hear me now. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I need to see some thumbs up in the chat if you guys have it. Have sound again. Do you guys have sound again? That was probably, what was I trying to do? I don't even know if it's in here. Oh, there it is. I was trying to put this picture in, so it probably muted me for a minute, but I think it's back. Because I was trying to put that in. I don't know. But yeah, give me a thumbs up if you, or even some hearts if you can hear me. I'm on my phone on YouTube and I can hear me, so hopefully y'all can hear me. All right, so that is like super, super pale, okay? It's super pale. It's like the palest blue I can make, okay? And I should tape this down, y'all, because sometimes when I don't tape it down, it does have some warping to the paper. Let me pull up my reference photo again so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. So I don't know, Vicky, I hope you can hear me now. Hopefully. So now I'm gonna really zoom in on some of these ripples. And this is how you get reflections in water. We're just gonna jump right in. So I am loading up my brush with that same blue that I just washed the whole background with. It's the same color. I didn't do any added colors to it. But I'm going to very carefully follow some lines as a circle. Because that's kind of how it looks, is a circle. And I'm staring at my reference photo. If you guys do not look at your reference photo while you're painting, you're gonna have some problems. And see how it's lightening as I'm painting? That is because the paint is being depleted as I'm painting on my paper, okay? So I am not trying to be perfect, I'm trying to have fun. So if you're trying to have perfection, you're probably not going to have fun. But as I'm showing you guys this, it's just, you know, making these little ripples with a very light touch now. Some of these are darker than others. And let me see what the tail looks like. It's very dark in there. Yeah, again, this is layer 2, right? We've already done 1 layer and we're getting some more layers on there. So it's going to take some time to get all them layers built up. And I'm looking at this photo reference and there's so many little yellows in there as well. And it looks like maybe some greens. And these shapes right in here are very pale, so we want to preserve them. We don't want to paint all of that. We need to do some yellow now. I'm going to switch brushes. So let me show you my desk just so you can see kind of what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So I'm going to get a smaller brush. I'm going to get like around 6 or 8 and get that nice and clean and wet. And we're going to look at this yellow ochre. Okay, so I didn't really wet these down too good. Let me get that one kind of wet and dip my tip in there. Now we're just going to, very carefully, we're going to make some of those yellow ripples that I'm seeing. And that might be too much water on that. If you have too much water, just dry it. And then you can pull it. And there's like a little zigzag. And there's some zigzagging in here. And a little bit of zigzagging over here. And just like some random little yellows, okay? I don't want you guys to be overly concerned with so many shapes of this. I just want you to have fun and kind of drop it here and there. So there's what I did. I just added a little bit of yellow in some places, okay? Just a little bit, not like a ton of it. And now we're going to mix, my blue that I've been kind of using. I do want to start to darken it a little bit. I might use some of my greenish blue turquoisey color in there. That might be really fun to do a little bit in there. I'm seeing a lot of that greenish color over here, greenish blue. And again, I'm just letting my eyes stare at that. Stare, like just stare at your photo reference. You don't want to mess up anything. And if you are having a little bit of a struggle doing this, it's probably because you haven't practiced enough with doing drawings and paintings where you don't even look at what you're painting on your paper. You look at the reference photo. A trick that I recommend y'all do is turn everything upside down, and then you can try not to really spend too much time trying to make a fish or make what you think it is. If I told you guys to draw an eyeball, you would make an almond shape with a round, eye color in the pupil. But if you really look at eyes, you'll see that there's so much more to it than that. So see how I'm just filling in some spots? But yeah, we totally started with that pale blue, remember? And now I'm going over. You can even layer over what you've already put down. That's how we get those ripples going. Even over the yellow, if you mess up, it's not the end of the world. Let's see, I'm just starting to get, can you see it up close? Let me see if we can zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to try and do some more up here. So I do see a lot of darks, but I also see some light. So I don't want to lose those light colors. I'm trying to preserve them. Now there's white for the really white highlights. I do not like using masking fluid, y'all. But if you wanted to preserve some really white whites on top of the water, you could use masking fluid and you would use a really skinny brush to apply little squiggles for the white squiggles on here that I see. But I'm going to go in at the end with a white gel pen. Like that's what I do. I don't really care for masking fluid. Janice, if Janice was joining us, she could tell you like how amazing she does with the masking fluid. And it does work great. But I do not like it, to be honest. So now I'm building up. Right here, there's some really dark darks that I'm seeing, but I am just barely creating any ripples. I'm just doing some fun, a little bit darker, a little bit darker, a little bit darker. So we're gonna make this just a little bit darker. I may add some of this turquoise color that I have. I may put a little bit of this ultramarine blue in there. I have so many blues, y'all. And maybe a little bit of Payne's Gray. So I'm going to put a little bit of Payne's Gray in with my blue. Now look how dark this has gotten. See how dark? This is going to make it look so good. So I'm just dipping it in here and I'm going to start looking. And my darkest darks are kind of in the corners. And they're just willy wonky here and there. Does that make sense to say willy wonky? I don't know. And that's the shadow. See how it's organically right to the side of that? Then there's some darks in there. And you can just drop it if it's still wet. It'll make some really cool effects. You got some darker ones in here. Some dark right in here. You just kind of look at your photo and the photo is going to guide your hand and make it go where you want it. And you might be saying, it's not going where I want it. I think this is one of those that is going to take some time. You're going to practice it and it's going to get better and better as you do it. But just notice how I am layering all of these, right? I am not painting meticulously. I am layering over and over. And then there is some darker colors in there to define that fish. So that is looking pretty good. Here's a close-up of it. Kind of. Is that too zoomed in? Let me see if I can make it less zoomed in so it's filling at least. Not cutting off anything. I don't know. It's still kind of cutting off the top and bottom, but that's a little better. So, all right. So that is some ripples right there. It's still not even dark enough. When you look at my photo reference, and I'll show you the photo reference again. Look at how dark. You go back and forth, you can see how I'm building up the dark spots. And even with our sunflower class yesterday, we were painting the leaves that were all bunched together in the sunflower field. And we didn't paint full leaves. What we did is we painted the highlights of the leaves, which was a pale green, and then we had to paint the shadows. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We're painting some of these shadows, and I will be mixing some more of my paint. Let me show you guys what I'm going to be mixing so you can see. So I'm going to go back in and get some of this green blue paint, green blue. I'm getting a lot. The more dark you want it, you need to use more paint and less water. So I just did that. I got some green blue. I'm going to add a little Payne's Gray because we want to go darker. And look at the gorgeousness of that. That is great. That is great. So now I will zoom in so you can see where I'm going to go next. So we're going to add some over here. And you can let the painting kind of tell you what it wants. What does your painting want? Sometimes your painting wants something really cool, right? And you're like, oh, it looks so neat. It looks so neat. So we're just kind of going wherever my eye says, hey, that's darker there. I want it darker there. I'm not doing the whites on the top. Now remember, if you want to preserve those whites, you can use some masking fluid or you can use a white gel pen at the end, right? Now I'm going to start chiseling this down just a little bit. Because that's going to give us our nice reflections. And this section over here is very, the light is reflecting on it. But you can kind of tell I am making some squiggly lines. I'm doing some darker ones in here. And right up against that, right up against this yellow is some darker blue. And right up in here, that's dark. And I'm letting it all be guided by what I see. But again, it's not going to be perfection. We're not trying to be perfection. We're just trying to make it. Might need more paint. I'm running out of paint. So now I'm going to mix up some more. That same kind of green blue. Need to dig my brush in there and get a lot of it. And then a little Payne's Gray. A little Payne's Gray goes a long ways. All right, look at that nice deep color in there. So now I'm going to check out my photo reference, which I showed you already 100 times, but here's another one, just so you can see it again. Super dark colors over here, super dark, okay? But you got to preserve those highlights. Don't paint everything. You cannot paint everything. And this is very much more green, I think. But if you can tell, it's definitely becoming more and more like ripples, right? Can you tell? And then sometimes I just let my hand take over, and that's fun to watch what it do, to watch what it does. And do be cognizant of where your fishy's tail is. You don't want to paint over that. You do want to have some ripples right into it. And I'm going to add more Payne's Gray because I'm feeling like this is not dark enough. So a little bit more Payne's Gray. See that? We got lots more Payne's Gray on there, right? So now watch what happens. We are going deep into here. Look at that. We're just going really dark on these edges, right? I don't know if this is what you guys were thinking about when you were joining today to watch water reflections, but this is how I do my water reflections, right? And there's some real darks in here too. So if you start looking and you're like, wait a minute, that looks really dark in there. Am I doing enough dark in there? See, this is going to be the shadow of the fish with some whites in between, just for the reflection. There's some right in there. Might be some in there. And the more you do, you might get overworked. Okay, so check yourself every once in a while and make sure you're not overworking. Now, I do like this, but I feel like it's all the same color. So what I'm going to do as a bold move, I'm going to get some of this blue, a different color blue, right? Mix it into what's kind of already on here that was left. And that's a different color blue. We're going to just add it here and there, okay? I want you guys to add different colors into your blue here and there, okay? Don't be afraid to do this. This is not scary. I mean, I guess it could be a little scary, but we want you to experiment and have fun with this. So I've just added some strange different blues in there. So you can kind of see now that I added them in there, here and there. And really, looking at that outline, that could be Shark Week, y'all. It is Shark Week. So you could make that into a shark, but what I'm going to do is make him a koi. But now I'm going to kind of chisel out his nose a little bit. His nose is white. And there's definitely some definition around his body that I want to preserve. And that's looking good. And see how I'm kind of going over some of those pale blues that I first put on there? See how I'm doing that? And this yellow has a darker, but it has some lights. So we're going to keep those lights. We don't want to get rid of them. But that's why we did the lightest color first, so that you can go back and do some things here. All right, I'm looking at that going, that looks good. That looks good. All right, so that looks kind of watery. Let's see what happens when we make our orange fish. So I have some of this red that's still on here that I squeezed out from a tube. And this is very red, like a koi. A koi would be red, right? So I have mixed that up and it's on my brush. I'm going to just set that aside for a minute. I got this little guy that I can lean him on. If you don't have a little rest for your guy, you need that. I'm going to use a different brush that I have no paint on because I want to paint some clean water on this fish. Because I do want to do, that's not very clean, but it's okay. It's kind of greenish. It's fine. So I have painted him with water. Now I'm going to I might just use this same brush because it's small. What happens if I do some specklies? And I don't have to do the exact same colors that I saw in the photo reference. I can do my own fishy. Look at that. I am loving that bleed and it looks really cool. I'll rinse that brush and I might use some of this orange. I have like a cadmium orange that I'm going to use. And so I'm getting this nice and loaded up with some paint and water. So now I'm going to drop some of that orange in there. little dots of orange. And you can get as creative in this part as you want. I am kind of looking at the tail right here just to make sure I'm doing something right? And you can drop some in the red. And you can do some on this. So we've got this going on. It's really loose and pretty. I do notice in my reference photo there's some black spots. Instead of using black, I like to use Payne's Gray. So I'm gonna do just a little bit of Payne's Gray on top of my tip of my brush. And I'm gonna put the little speckles. There's some little speckles along his back. If you don't like how it's bleeding out and fading, if you want it to be crisp, more crisp, you know the drill. Gotta dry it, right? That's all it really takes. I still have Payne's Gray on the tip here, and now I'm going to show you. See how much more those little spots stay in where they're supposed to? That's because I dried it. So if you are freaking out over all of your paint just flowing into the next color and you want it to stop doing that, this is what you do. You dry it. So I am liking those little black dots on there. And that's what you kind of do with the red. You can go back in and make some red. Now I'm noticing the water lines on top. So I'm following what I see, kind of, to make those little water lines. But the koi fish is really fun to paint. I don't know if you guys have ever painted koi fish before, but it is super fun to paint them. And I'm going back to that orange. And I'm going to get some more orange on my tip of my brush. And I'm going to paint where I think I see some lines, and it's going up towards the top of him. So I'm trying to keep some of those lines from the water reflections. And that is very tricky. But to do that, what you guys need to do is just look at your painting. Look at your photo reference. I mean, you don't want to look at your painting as much. You want to look at your photo reference. So now I am seeing these lines. Now, if you find it hard to keep painting negatively, like around all those light lines, you can rinse your brush and lift them to create those lines. So they're kind of going this way. I don't know if that's zoomed in. I'm going to rinse my brush again. And then see how I'm trying to lift? Again, you can do this with a tiny brush. But I'm liking how that's looking. It doesn't necessarily have a lot of those other colors. I might put a little bit of this yellow. I have some cadmium yellow. I might put just a couple in here, spots of yellow. So that's making it look even more watery. And again, no one's going to look at my reference photo when I put a sell this at a market. They're going to be like, that's pretty. They're gonna like it. And it's not even done yet. Oh, Vicky, thanks. It looks fantastic, she says. Thank you. I'm trying to get there. I might add a little more darker reds in here just to get those little white lines, kind of the lighter lines in there. And I'm liking how bright that is. Sometimes I like these bright and pretty colors. So you can do what you want. Remember, it's your painting. If you're having fun, that's all that matters. That's looking good. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my brush. And now I'm looking at the shadows. So you know me and my final moments, I do shadows at the end, right? I have all this paint on there I didn't want to really waste, but you can always start a new painting. I don't see anywhere I can put this, so I'm gonna have to rinse it off because I do like using that brush. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back into a blue color. Let me zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. We are going to make a shadow color, which is kind of, I don't know, I play around with a couple blues and see which one I like. And just a touch of that Payne's Gray, not a whole lot. So this is my shadow color on the fish. And we want to make sure he's totally dry before we do the shadows. But I've noticed in his tail, like I will zoom over to the scene of the fish. Look at the tail. Like the tail has some white on the edges, but the rest of it is like a bluish gray. And that's because of the shadow. And look at the fins. I want you to pay attention to those fins. They definitely have some blue ripples and they have some white. So you got to preserve that. And also the nose of the fish. Look at the nose. It's got some grayish shadows, and the whole body of the fish has some gray shadows. So this is where we're going to start adding our shadows to make it definitely more. Now I mixed up a blue. So we're going to try doing just the one side of his body. And then his tail. And some ripples on his tail. Preserving that white. And I like to go darker and darker. Start with a light color and then add that dark. And there's a little shadow there. And there's some little ripplies on there. Along this spine, there's some shadow because that's the dorsal fin. And there's some little, you can go in a smaller brush. I'm like having a little bit going on there. All right, so there's a shadow. There might be a little shadow right here. If you can't see your reference photo too great, zoom in on some of that. So I'm liking that. I do feel like my painting needs some more dark colors up here, like it's all too much the same. So you know what I'm gonna do? Really boldly, I'm just gonna stick my brush into my Payne's Gray. It's got a lot of Payne's Gray. And maybe I need a lot more. I don't know. Let's see what happens. I want more. I want more. Let's do more. So I'm going to get my brush just loaded up with that Payne's Gray. And watch what I'm going to do, y'all. You might think, oh, she's ruining it. No, I'm not ruining it. Adding contrast. It's great. It is shiny on there, but I'm adding some contrast. And the darkest of darks that I'm seeing for this painting, some of them are in here too. I need more Payne's Gray, more. And maybe a little bit in here. So see how I'm adding some super dark darks now? Because I'm noticing that it needs it, right? It needs it. So if you need to add contrast to your painting, just go for it. Don't worry if it's perfect. Just go for it. You can wiggle it now. And this is all muscle memory for me. So if it's harder for you, it's probably because you haven't been doing it. And you need to practice that. But it's okay if you are not as good yet. It will come in time. I just want to get that a little bit because I've noticed just a little bit of a darker area right here on that section. Maybe a little bit there, a little bit here. Sometimes you go in and you're like, I don't see the shadows anymore. So that's when you know you need to go back in and do something, right? And sometimes you're like, oh, you just ruined it. Maybe, but I practiced, didn't I? I practiced. And sometimes we love what we make afterwards, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're like, ugh, that one's going in the bin. But I kind of like this one. I like it. And I'm going to add some more shadow right there. Maybe a little bit up here. And wiggling it around right in here. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. That's looking not too bad. Not too shabby. I do think it needs some darker areas in here. So I'm going to mix up a little bit more of my blue. And what I'm going to do is kind of make it kind of go in that same kind of circle pattern. And I do think it kind of goes up to the fish. And I think it's going around that. Again, I could be overworking this. It's very possible. But I'm adding some of this color in there because I'm liking that color. I like it down in there. And I'm just letting my hand go wherever it wants. I'm just enjoying. I'm having fun being expressive. Just be expressive, okay? Don't worry if it's perfect. So, anyways, that's looking pretty good. I'm liking how that's looking. And I'm gonna rinse my brush because I gotta rinse it off. And I'll show you guys what I have in my little pouch here. It is a white gel pen number 8. Now, is this wet still? It might be a little bit wet. I don't know if that's working. Maybe I should use my Bombay white ink. Also, if you have gouache, gouache is a good one. But don't use your watercolor brushes with your India ink, okay? But I am using this because I want some larger areas of white. So I have some little brushes that are just like throwaway brushes, basically. If they get acrylic ink on them, it's fine. So I'm going to dip it in my India ink. If you don't have India ink, just most watercolor sets do come with a white. You just get it super thick. Super thick. Okay, so now we're going to go across the top where I see these little white ripples. And it won't work too great if that's super wet. Here, I'm going to zoom in. But this is the way I would do. This is how I would do white reflections on here because I wouldn't want to have to mask all these. And plus you would have to paint these while the paper's white. That would be so difficult, I think. And see, I've kind of preserved some white over here, but you could even make it more pronounced if you want. And this is where you can kind of get too crazy with all the little white dots and stuff. You could get super crazy. But a cool thing you can do now is if you did kind of forget to leave some spots, you can do them on your fish, those little kind of white lines that kind of look like little crisscrosses. You can do the white dorsal fin that I kind of forgot to leave white. But you can go in there and do it. You can do some white on his fin. And you can do some white over here. So like if you forgot to leave some white, go ahead and go back in there. There's some little white lines. This brush is not that great, but it'll work. Need maybe a little bit more white ink, but let's see what happens. I'm gonna put a little bit more white ink in here. Just my dropper doesn't work that great on this. I don't know what happened to it. Probably squeezed it too hard. And now it's a pain. All right, let me just dip in here. And maybe I want to do some of the reflections kind of lightly. Oh, I'm kind of liking that. I'm seeing some right in here. And I'm kind of going nutso. I don't know why. Why am I going nutso with this? I don't even know. But I'm just doing it because I like it. I like it. But you can add more ripples, less ripples than I am. I do like using the white of this. I think some tail right there. A little bit more on the dorsal. A little bit more on some of this area. And then there is some more little specks. Some more little specks. So this is where you can just kind of be creative and expressive if you want. But you can get really, you can get a lot of looks in this. It'll be fun if you do it. You can try just making different markings all over it. But that is basically how I do reflections. But I need a reference photo, y'all, because I would not be able to do this with just looking at it. I mean, thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? I need to look at the reference photo. So that looks actually pretty darn good, if I do say so myself, right? Now, if you are just starting and this was your first attempt at making reflections in in water. Please give yourself some grace. Don't feel like you have to be perfect the first time you do something. There's always a learning curve. And even looking at the two pictures kind of side by side, I wish this would rotate. Did I lock my rotation? I don't know. I don't know if I did, but I wish it would rotate. Do I have it not rotating? I could try. And then zoom it out. So it's kind of similar. You can see them side by side. The colors in this are darker still, so I could even go even more dark. Like I can look at them side by side now and see that I wish went a little darker, right? And I could go back in with some of my Payne's Gray, even like a Mars Black might work to get those really dark darks. But I'm liking how that looks. I don't think I need to go darker. I could, but I don't think I need to. Maybe the shadow from the fish on the bottom of the koi pond would look really cool. Possibly. Anyways, we've been here an hour, and you know the drill. At the end of my videos, what I like to do, and my little face light just went out, so probably the battery needs to be recharged. But we got a stack of scripture, and I like to randomly pick one. I kind of like this one, and I don't know if I've done this one before, but it's really good because we need to remember this. Zephaniah 3:17, it says, "The Lord your God is with you. His power gives you victory. The Lord will take delight in you, and in his love he will give you new life." Hey, this is a good reminder. If you're going through some life changes right now, I don't know what y'all are going through. If you've lost your job, if you are struggling in a relationship, feeling betrayed by someone, or maybe things are going well, but they're just kind of stagnant and you don't know what your next step is to make life a little bit more meaningful for yourself. Sometimes you just want to branch out and start a new business, or you want to actually sign up for a arts and craft show and put your artwork out there in a booth. Maybe you want to do that. And just remember, God is delighting in you, and he loves watching you create. He loves watching you share it with others to help them be inspired to create. So what you are doing matters, and the Lord is loving you. He loves you for all that you are doing. He even sees you in your struggles and your sorrows and your heartache. He is there with you, and he's going to use all of that to create something good. That's what I believe anyways. And it gives me hope for the next day and the next day and the next day. Just thinking about God's love for me. And I hope that helps you all too. And I will see you guys next Monday. Mwah!